All right, swing builders. Let's talk about practice. Practice. We're talking about practice, not a game. Practice. All right? Some of you will get that. Um, it was recently asked of me to give a good rundown of what goes into a good practice session. What are players, golfers, even experienced golfers typically doing that isn't helpful in their process, in their journey? Um, and for me, it just comes down to a few things. All right. And my swing builders will know that I'm going to tell people to go slow, breathe deep a lot, take breaks, stay hydrated, listen to music. Can't play my music. I got my little Bluetooth speaker over there, but turned it off for this video. Work in small ball sets. I've got a few sets of 5 balls over here, and each one of those sets of balls is going to be for a different training piece. All right. And we're going to focus on one thing at a time. We're also going to use a tee in the beginning, at least the first 10 or 15 shots. I don't care which club you're using. I don't care if you're starting the day with a sand wedge. Put it on a tee. Just get the ball up off the ground a little bit. Make life easy so your confidence level stays up and you don't get frustrated within the first 5 minutes of you being out there. All right? So this is probably going to look a little different than what most people go through when they're trying to learn something new. You know, I get it. You go watch a YouTube video, you get a tip from somebody, and you're like, all right, I can't wait to get out to the range to try that. And within the first 90 seconds, you're blasting full speed 7-irons and drivers trying to make this stuff happen. And after 5 or 6 tries, you're like, oh, this ain't working. Maybe I'm just not good at golf. Maybe it's the club. Maybe I'll get a new driver. Or that guy on YouTube didn't know what he was talking about. Or I'm not an athlete. I can't do half the stuff these guys are doing on TV. Bullshit. All right? You can. You're just not training properly. You're just not practicing properly. And if you go slow, you breathe deep a lot, you take breaks, you drink water, listen to some music, relax, and enjoy the process as best you can, yes, you're going to see a lot of failure, okay? Anytime we try something new, anytime we're trying to bring a new skill into our swing, or you're just a new golfer in general, it's hard, right? So you just got to be ready to hit a bunch of terrible shots in the beginning. And anytime you're plugging in something new to your swing or making an adjustment or just trying something different. So the process that I build for people in their swing builders really gets them just slowing down. That's the main emphasis, all right? Because we've all seen the range warriors out there burning through 150 balls in about 9 minutes, going full speed on almost every shot, maybe taking a couple of practice swings every 5 or 10 balls. When what's really going to help is going slow, hitting off of a tee, taking a bunch of practice swings, doing some training pieces between shots, taking breaks, listening to music. I know I'm repeating myself. I'm saying these things over and over again so that it starts to stick. Maybe you're writing them down. Maybe you're typing them into your notepad on your phone or something. But these are the things that I've seen the best results from my swing builders who do this. All right? So I'm going to demonstrate that for you. And I'll kind of do some dramatic representations of what I normally see at the range, okay? So it would first off just be, hey, I'm hopping out of the truck. That was my pitching wedge. That's about the longest club I usually start with. Occasionally it's a 9-iron or an 8-iron, but for the most part, I like starting with a sand wedge, pitching wedge. gap wedge, something like that, off of a tee, going slow, breathing deep, stretching, making a bunch of practice swings, taking my time, and just kind of waking my body and brain up. But here's what most people do. All right, let's try out this new 7-iron. How can I play golf with this? You know, look at that. 50 yards offline. I just lost a golf ball on the golf course. All right, well, let me try this grip thing that I saw on the internet. All right, well, that didn't work. Maybe the ball's too far up. Maybe I'll move it back. Yeah, driver goes way up front. I'm going to just put it in the middle. I see my buddy playing with the ball in the middle half the time. I'm going to try that. All right, well, that didn't work. Give me a different club. All right, pitching wedge, right? I should be able to hit a pitching wedge. Well, at least we got a practice swing in, right? And then, okay, we kind of got it. Maybe that grip thing is working. And what they don't understand is they just removed or added 25, 30 degrees of loft to the club, right? Pitching wedge, laid back, 7-iron, a little steeper, driver, virtually vertical. That has a lot to do with where these shots are ending up and how straight they are with an equivalent type of strike. So we got one more ball in our set, right? 1, 2. Oh, that might have been 5. Yep, that was 5. Okay. So what did this player learn out of that 5-ball set? What did they improve? What did they experience? Did they become more consistent? Probably not. Consistent at doing things that aren't very helpful. Yeah, they did that. Do they have something that they can trust more on the golf course to show up when they need it to? Probably not. That was a very randomized shot group. I mean, I got 2 that are 30, 40 plus yards, 25, 30 yards right. And I got one that's 50 plus yards left. And I got 2 that are kind of in the neighborhood of where we wanted to go. But that player has no clue how those 2 balls ended up in the middle and those 3 balls ended up 100 yards apart. So we've got to take control of this process. We've got to take control of our practice session. We've got to be a little more regimented in what we're doing. And it just all ties back to what I was saying in the beginning. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to hit off of a tee. We're going to make a bunch of practice swings. We might do a couple training reps. Whatever it is you're working on, pick one thing, rep it out. Okay? Now, that's not to say we got to focus on only one thing all the time. Sometimes we're going to be focused on grip and grip pressure and where we're striking the ground or taking our divots, brushing the grass, whatever. Or how's my timing and sequencing? Am I feeling relaxed? I get it. But in terms of making adjustments, training, and improving something, our focus needs to be on one physical thing at a time. That way our brain doesn't get confused. Because if we give our brain 2 or 3 things to think about, guess what it's going to do? It's going to pick one. What's going to happen to the other 1 or 2? Who knows? Maybe it just glitches out completely and says, I can't manage all this stuff you're telling me to manage. I'm just doing what I know how to do, which is usually what brings a golfer to me in the first place, is just doing what they think they need to do to hit a golf ball. Some of it's helpful, some of it's not. Hopefully through video we can figure it out. Hopefully through data that we collect from the range or on course, we can gradually tighten things up. All right, so what would a proper process look like? Well, again, we're on a tee, right? Just to get the ball up off the ground, make life easy. We're doing something between each ball. All right, so for this particular one, I'm just going to do my little step drills and make sure that my club is bottoming out about where I want it. It ain't got to be perfect. In these practice swings, my club is brushing the ground right between my feet. Because my feet are together, that's totally normal and acceptable. But as I step and turn, it should be happening up closer to my left foot, maybe even out in front of my left foot. So if I'm doing practice swings and I'm finding that I'm hitting the ground way behind my right foot, I'm not ready for a golf ball, okay? I might need to go into some training pieces. I might need to pay attention to some setup adjustments. Okay? But for now, it's just, let's get my timing down. Let's make sure I'm brushing the ground in the right spot. Let's use our step drill, which is very helpful in making that happen. Let's take a couple of deep breaths. Let's get the tension out of our shoulders and neck. And I'm not going anywhere near full speed. So full speed distance for a pitching wedge, probably in the 130, 35 range for me most of the time. So I'm just hanging out at about 50% of that. I've got this target out here at 75, so I'm not even trying to hit this 75-yard target. I'd be fine if this ball only flew 50, 60 yards. Okay, if it happens to fly 70, 75, I'm not going to be mad. I'm just going to go, okay, well, if it was a good shot, fine. I'm going to hang out there. That's the other key component of your practice sessions, is we want to find our success speed or our success distance. And I consider training speed to be about 30 to 50% of our maximum speed and distance. So anywhere between 40 and 70% is usually where people find their comfortable level of swing speed and success. So if the ball's going where we want and it's a ball flight we like, a shot shape we like, then fine, we're okay at that speed. But if it's all over the place and every other shot is like, boom, 30 yards right, boom, 20 yards left, with the wrong curvature, you know, we're slowing things down. We're putting the brakes on pretty quick. So I've done a few practice swings. I brushed the ground a little bit. I've taken a bunch of deep breaths. I might even do a training piece as my shot. All right, so what do we get out of that? 55 yards in the air. How far off line was it? 5 yards, tops? You know, I don't know how wide that target is out there, but it definitely wasn't 20, 30 yards off line, which is where you start losing golf balls. You know, you're going to be okay most of the time, 10 or 15 yards offline. But once we start seeing 20 plus, it's time to start asking some questions. It's time to start making some adjustments. It's time to start doing some training pieces. All right, so I'm just going to stick with what's working. I'm going to do a few step drills. I'm going to brush the ground a few times. I'm going to take as many deep breaths as I could squeeze in between shots. Because our brains need oxygen, our blood needs oxygen, our muscles need oxygen. And if we're going super fast and getting very frustrated and not breathing, well, that's just going to increase our stress, cortisol, and adrenaline levels. And we don't need none of that. We're in a learning process. We're in a training process. We're taking our time. We're checking our grip. We're transitioning our motion patterns and training pieces into golf shots. And we're just being smooth and relaxed. Now, let's assume I just worked through an entire 5-ball set there, and now we're ready for some speed. But I'm still hitting off a tee, okay? I've only hit 8 shots. I'm not ready for full speed. Even if I've hit 12 or 15 shots, I'm probably not ready for full speed yet. I'm still warming up. I would consider a decent warm up for most people to be about 30 balls with training reps between, with practice swings in the mix, and with taking breaks. I mean, your 30 warm up balls could take you 20 plus 30 minutes, somewhere in that neighborhood. So don't feel rushed. Be patient. Trust the process. But now I'm going to take away my step. There's nothing I'm seeing so far that I should be concerned about. So I'm just going through my process, getting the tension out. Taking deep breaths. Getting a good setup. And now without the step, I'm just kind of going to go about half speed, maybe a little more, get it to that 75-yard target. All right, so I got a little extra out of that one. What did we get? About 90 yards in the air? Cool. Am I mad at that? No, it went straight. All my launch numbers look good. Okay, I juiced it a little bit. Didn't mean to, no big deal. But that's the process I'm sticking with. I'm still hitting off of a tee. And if it goes a little farther than I expect, that's fine. Still doing reps between shots. Still checking the tension in my shoulders and hands and neck. As many deep breaths as I can squeeze in. Felt the club face coming in a little bit open on that one, but again, nothing to worry about. It was 2.4 degrees right at launch, so probably not losing that golf ball even at full speed. Still sticking with the step drill. It's the one thing I'm focused on right now. All it is just, hey, let's get our timing down. Let's make sure we're getting decent contact on the club face and not having to deal with a bunch of unexpected curvature or thin shots or chunky shots, which as a new golfer or as someone going through a training process, experimenting with a bunch of new things, you're going to see a lot of terrible shots, okay? Just be okay with it. Until you hit 500 terrible shots, none of it matters. That's just your brain figuring everything out. We're rewiring your brain to produce better golf shots. And sometimes we do training without a club. If it gets real bad, we get rid of the ball. If it keeps getting bad, we get rid of the club. And we do our training motions or motion patterns with nothing, so that we don't have to deal with the frustration of, man, I'm sick of hitting 3 inches behind this ball. What is going on? Or if I see another ball sliced to the right, I'm going to throw this club away. You know, who wants to live there? Enjoy the process. Put on some tunes. Take breaks. Drink water. Stay hydrated. Make sure you're nourished as well. Have a snack, you know. If you're rushing to get to the range after work, and chances are you haven't eaten since 1 o'clock, you know, you're pushing 5+ hours with no calories. So get some calories, some good ones. Get some nuts. Get some fruit, some berries. Not a double cheeseburger. So back to this, now that I've taken the ball away, assuming that things got real sketchy and the ball was going all over the place, well, I'm going to spend some time making motion patterns and swings, sometimes without a club, and making motion patterns and swings just brushing the ground or clipping a tee. And then when I get that right, 3, 5 good times, then I'm ready for a ball, still off of a tee. Because if we have to reset and get rid of the club and get rid of the ball, excuse me, then that's our brain telling us we're not ready for a golf ball sitting on the ground. We've still got some warming up to do. We've still got some motion patterns to master. We've still got some relaxation to do. And when it gets real bad, we just take a break. And about every 10, 15 minutes. Take a break, get rehydrated, slow things down, and be relaxed, all right? There we go. So I've seen a bunch of good shots here, so I'm going to move on to a little bit longer club. I just happen to have my pitching wedge and 7-iron, that's it today. So normally I would probably go to something like an 8, just as an intermediary, but I'm going with a longer club that's more difficult to hit. It's going to be going faster, so I'm sticking with the T. Technically, I've only hit 11 shots, so I've still got at least 4 to 6 shots to go, good ones, okay, before I'm ready to take this ball off a tee. And when I do take the ball off the tee, I'm going back to a shorter club for a minute just to make sure that things are clicking. All right, so what's normal distance with a 7-iron? Probably like 180, 85 for me. So half of that, about 90. That's all I'm looking for here. 90 to like 120 tops. If this goes farther than 120, I'm going too fast. All right, so I didn't even get quite to my 90. But I'm looking at the numbers and everything's in shape there. As long as I'm 5 degrees left or right, I'm fine with that for now in terms of my starting line. But again, it doesn't matter what the ball's doing. I don't care what the ball's doing, especially for newer golfers. Your ball flight's going to be so inconsistent. You're going to be making contact all over the club face. You know, it's tough for 2 shots to look good in a row. Don't worry about it. Focus on the process. Focus on your training reps. Focus on one thing at a time and do it over and over and over until you get 5 or 6 really good ones in a row. Then you're ready to move on to something else or a different club. Okay, but we got to see some shots that are kind of on target. You know, for a new golfer, as long as you're inside 20 yards left or right of target, we're fine with that for now. Okay, for me, you know, 10 is about the range. If I see anything more than 10 yards left or right of target, okay, I'm paying attention. 15, I'm doing some training reps. I'm slowing down. I'm going back to a tee. I'm taking my time. I might take a break. But the process is the same. Good grip. Tension check. Still stepping. I'll let it go a little faster that time. Should get 100 in the air. Yep, cool. And let's see, that was shot 13, I believe. Yeah. So, or maybe this is shot 13. I don't know. But point being, I'm sticking with the routine. I'm sticking with the training. I'm staying oxygenated. I'm reducing tension as much as possible. I'm not expecting too much. I don't care if I shank this ball. It doesn't really matter. What's my solution going to be if I shank it? Well, I'm just going to drop the club. I'm going to do some training reps without a club. I'm going to do some training without the ball. All right, so that went pretty well. That was the first one without stepping into it. Cool. I liked it. We're still on a tee, though. And I think I'm just kind of going to freewheel this one. I don't really care how far it goes. I'm definitely not going max speed, but I'm going to let her rip a little bit. But I'm sticking with deep breaths, practice swings, tension checks, and a bunch of breathing. Oh, and that ended up being my worst strike, okay? That was not a good strike. but I probably didn't lose that golf ball on the course. But that just kind of tells me, hey, maybe we're not ready for that kind of speed yet. Again, I've only hit 15 balls. Proper warm up I consider to be about 30. I'm halfway there. I'm trying to speed it up for y'all, but for the most part, I'm just kind of letting it come to me at this point, you know? A little more of a rip. Still in that 10 yards off line range. I'm okay with that. 5 degrees, 4.7 degrees right for a warm up. That's fine. I don't really care. I'm not trying to control ball flight yet. I'm basically just going through the process of warming up. Bunches of practice swings. So what am I going to do now that I saw that one that squirted off? Well, first I'm going to take a break. I've done a bunch of step drills. I'm going to go into my pinch grip now and just kind of let my hands and arms relax and roll over. Let that club face close up. Remind my brain that, oh yeah, that's what we want to have happen. We don't need these balls leaking off to the right that much. Again, 5 degrees, not too concerned about it. And then I'll work that into my step drills. I might even activate my left arm a little bit to get the club face to close. But again, nothing too official, nothing too technical. Mostly just relaxing more, doing a couple of reps, and just let's see what happens. There we go. So now I would say, all right, let's assume I've worked through a couple more clubs and I'm ready for full speed. All right. But we're going to go back to the pitching wedge to add speed first there. And now I'm going to stick with the tee for a minute. So I don't want to jump into super full speed with the ball on the ground right away. Everything's gradual, piece by piece. And again, I'm not too worried about mechanics or being super technical in my swing. I'm still just loosening up and waking up my body. All right, so there's my 130-ish with the pitching wedge at full speed off a tee. Cool, cool. I'm happy enough with that. Let's assume I've hit 3 or 4 more like that with reps in between and breathing and maybe even taking another break. The other thing we can do as we train, use some foot spray on your club face. Have a towel and a brush with you too, but spray down your club face, see where you're making contact. If it's not close to the middle, we're banging around out here and way down here and way in on the hosel, we're not ready for speed. We're not ready to take the ball off a tee. But I feel like I'm making pretty decent contact. Ball's going pretty straight. There hasn't been too much jumping out at me that I feel like I need to control or worry about. I'm just continuing the process. Breathing, relaxing, doing reps, stretching out, listening to music, drinking water, taking my time. All right, here we go. All right, cool. Got a good one. Stretched it out to 135, 140. We're in good shape. Let's assume I've hit 2 or 3 more good ones at least. Now we're ready for the 7-iron at speed, but I'm going back to a tee. Anytime I change clubs or anytime I encounter some issues, I'm looking for a reason to go back to a tee, just to make life easy, just to reduce stress, just to keep the cortisol and adrenaline low. There we go. Didn't brush the ground on that other one, so had to get that. All right, deep breath. Full jack. Let's see what happens. Balls are flying today. So what do we get? 185 in the air. Cool. I will take it. Let's assume I hit 2 or 3 more good ones off of a tee. So now we're ready for no tee, full rip, close to it anyway. And the other thing you might want to consider doing is standing behind your ball and just visualizing for a second. Where do I want this ball to go? Well, straight's always good, right? But most of the time our ball is going to have a little curvature. It's going to start a little left. It's going to start a little right. It's going to curve a little left. It's going to curve a little right. But if we can kind of visualize a fairly distinct target and see our ball dropping down near that, or at least in that direction, when we can visualize that, then we're ready. All right, not my best contact. Got that little leaker out to the right. Still got my normal distance. 3 degrees, 3.5 degrees off to the right. Not the end of the world, probably about 10 to 12 yards offline for a 180-yard shot. That's not the end of the world. That's less than 10% deviation from target. So am I worried about that? No, not yet. Not yet. I'm going to go back through my process. I'm going to continue my pre-shot routine behind the ball, my visualization, getting the tension out, double checking my grip, keeping everything nice and loose, breathing a lot, looking at my ground target on the ground. You can't see it, but there's a little piece of debris right about 3 feet in front of the ball. I'm going to intend to start my ball just left of that piece of debris. Let's see how it goes. Get your club face right. Get your feet right. Get your waggles. Get your oxygen. Check your targets. And go. Oh, even worse. Welcome to golf. That's going to happen a lot, especially when you're new to golf, okay? So what am I going to do? Well, first I'm just going to go back to a tee. I'm going to keep the club. I'm going to keep the speed. Maybe I'll slow down a little bit. So these are averaging about 180, so maybe I'll hit a couple at like 150 and see what happens. Take about 20% off. And let's just see if we can get this club face squaring up. I'm not reinventing everything. I'm not jumping around from one thing to the other trying to solve a problem. I'm focusing on my training, and then I'm trusting it. There we go. Cool. So that worked. I trimmed a little speed. I slowed things down. I relaxed. And now let's assume I did that 2 or 3 more good times. All right, now we're ready for no tee, full speed, deep breaths, visualize, breathe a lot, Club face, feet, tension, breathe, check your targets, and go. And we're back down the middle. All right. Not quite the best of the day. This is how you do it. This is training. We're not just blasting balls out into random space. We're going in with a plan. We're going in with some strategies and some systems. Constantly modulating speed, pushing the threshold occasionally, see what we can get out of it, slowing things down when it's falling apart, going back and forth between off the tee and off the ground. Tons of practice swings, tons of reps between shots, taking breaks, drinking water, having a purpose for every ball that we hit. Now I get it. Sometimes, sure, just tee it up, blast away, whatever happens, happens. Sometimes we just got to unload on it and get that out of our system. Maybe 10 to 20% of the time. 70 to 80% of the time, it should be comfortable speed where you can be successful. Occasionally, another 10 or 20% of the time, slowed way down until things show back up again. Sometimes we just drop the club. Sometimes we just get rid of the ball. All right? So take this information, apply it in your practice. I guarantee you, no matter what you're working on, if you do it this way, you're just going to keep getting better and better and better. Yes, you're going to have terrible shots. Yes, you're going to shank a couple. You might even miss the ball completely. You might hit 3 inches behind it. You're going to top some still. You're still going to lose balls on the golf course. Sorry. Welcome to golf. So, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. I couldn't do this without you, and I appreciate you. So, go out there, get relaxed, get hydrated, go slow, breathe deep a lot, do some training reps, have fun, and keep breathing.